Which is the worst single decision in history ever made by a person? 1. How about the guy who bought 20,000 Albanian slaves, brought them to Cairo, trained them to be the greatest warriors of their time, and then got overthrown by said slave warriors because they were so well trained? https://en. Wikipedia. Org Wiki Mamluk Time Suck podcast about Napoleon Bonaparte is where I got this from. It's a good one if you have an hour to listen. https://open Spotify.com episode/2kf4pzigwzbscdowr2r C equals y3 hapigwesks Rome 9 LA. 2. Well, the decision of Inalchuk, the governor of the Khwarezmian city of Otrar, to attack Genghis Khan's trade caravan was pretty bad. Khan was famous as a ruthless warlord, not the sort of guy you want to piss off. But maybe they could have got away with it. Genghis sent 3 ambassadors to negotiate a settlement, which is when Muhammad II, the Shah of Khwarezm, made the really bad decision to kill one of these ambassadors and send the other 2 back without their beards as a sign of humiliation. Genghis Khan was so enraged he assembled an army and destroyed the Khwarezmian Empire. Wiped out every town they had. He even rerouted a river to wipe out the village where the Shah was born, wiping it off the map. By 1120 there wasn't much of anything left, so both Inalchuk or Muhammad II of Khwarezm qualify. Take your pick. https://meganmasterson author. Bad decisions history provoking Genghis Khan. 3. Alan Savory. https://www.fastcompany.com/2,681,518/ This man shot 40,000 elephants before he figured out that herds of cows can save the planet. The ecologist who killed 40,000 elephants because it was believed that grazing was causing the desertification of Africa, only to find out later that elephants were essential to prevent desertification. 4. Alright gentlemen, we've successfully fended off the Greeks for 10 years. Our great city of Troy still stands. If we keep this up, surely they will realize the siege is fruitless and return home before long. Yo captain, there's this big ass wooden horse outside, oh rad, bring it in. 5. In the beginning the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. Right? 6. Robert Ballard, one of the guys who discovered Titanic, says that his biggest regret is that he and Jean-Louis Michel didn't bring a piece of the Titanic up with him when he first discovered it in 1985. At the time, they didn't want to disturb the wreck and leave it pristine. But if they had done so, then they would have been able to claim legal ownership of the wreck under international maritime law, and therefore more control over it. Because they chose not to do that, everyone and their grandma is free to take artifacts and pieces of the wreck, and this makes preservation impossible. Edit. A fair number of people have been asking this in the comments, so instead of replying to everyone individually, I thought I'd put this in as an edit, and thanks to the commenters who helped explain this. There is a school of thought which Robert Ballard, and myself, incidentally, subscribes to, which is that the wreck is the final resting place of the more than 1,500 souls who perished that cold night on the 14th of April 1912, and must therefore be treated with the same respect and dignity. Private companies who take artifacts and pieces of the wreck and sell them for profit are effectively grave robbing. And while the wreck is gradually deteriorating into nothing, the argument is that this doesn't matter, it's just nature taking its course. Of course, there is the argument that removing certain artifacts from the wreck and putting them in a museum is conducive to both the public good and the memory of the victims. I don't have a problem with that, personally, and I can't speak for Robert Ballard, but I do have a problem with the commercial scavengers taking pieces up to sell them. My understanding is that if he and his team were the registered owners of the wreck, he would have a claim to anything taken from the wreck and sold for profit, which would potentially deter people. 7. Eastman Kodak deciding not to go forward with their own newly invented digital cameras and instead sticking with film because it made them so much money at the time. 8. Either the great leap forward or the time I had gas station sushi. The great sit downward. Edit. This is not an award speech edit, but if it were, I would say, I'd like to thank Reddit, kind strangers, and my dog. Right? 9. The Donner Party of 90 pioneers choosing to take a shortcut when heading west from Illinois to California in 1846. Said shortcut led to them getting trapped in the Sierra Nevada mountains and resorting to cannibalism. The Donner Party stupidity chose to take a shortcut that was sold to them by a con man over the strenuous objections of serious and thoughtful pioneer guides. History repeats itself. 10. Maybe not the worst, but maybe Ronald Wayne. He was a co-founder of Apple along with Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in 1976. Just 12 days after forming the company, he sold his shares for $0. He owned 10% of the company, which would be worth $0 billion, $80 billion today. And X200B, source, https://www.cnbc. The 12th of September 2017, Apple's third co-founder Ronald Wayne sold his stake for $800. HTML, don't know how accurate this is, but the story still stands. 11. Mao Zedong's revolutionary campaign The Great Leap Forward resulting in millions of people starving to death. Mao's Great Leap down the staircase. 12. Alcibiades was considered a traitor in Athens for leading his men to death. A traitor in Sparta because he got the queen to cheat on the king with him, and a traitor in Persia after including them in a war. Edit. So I did a little bit of info, and the switching sides and stealing statues dicks are also true, plus he is a bisexual. Not like there is anything wrong with bisexuality. Yeah, but he got away with it and had fun. 13. The decision by the Scottish to invade England during Black Death must be up there. 14. Not the worst in the world, but apparently my family owned a little town west of Kent, UK. My great-great-great-grandfather got plastered one night and gambled it all away. Face with rolling eyes. 15. Yahoo refused to buy Google for $1 million and later for $40 billion again. Edit. They refused $1 million, later offered $3 and Google wanted $5 so no deal, and Yahoo was offered $40 by Microsoft and they didn't want to sell, and later they sold for $6. If they'd bought it for M they would have destroyed it though. Exactly, we don't want Yahoo in charge of anything. 16. Radcliffe Line. The process to divide India and Pakistan boundary in 1947 was done hastily and without major considerations to local populace religion. Radcliffe was not a geography guy and majorly messed up the process. Millions died. Link. https://en.m. Wikipedia. Wiki Radcliffe Line. I'd say the partition of the Levant, Middle East, was way worse. Arbitrarily drawn by people who knew nothing about the region. I once read something similar to, when you see a straight border, you can assume it was drawn by someone not living there. It makes sense. Saskatchewan's borders are all straight lines, and nobody lives there. 17. Kaiser Wilhelm II firing Otto von Bismarck. Bismarck had a plan. He always has a plan. But not when an incompetent Kaiser boots him out of his means of putting his plans into action. Bismarck had everything set up perfectly, but Wilhelm II decided to duck up everything he had set up, and got into World War I for it. Edit. Thack Guld Kindle Strangler. If you want to learn more about the greatest Chad in European history since Voltaire, I highly recommend watching this series. https://www.youtube. Playlist. List equals PL high chi 0 YJ5 DTZFABD chi 9 TZDX1 HTWF, which goes over Bismarck pretty well. 18. Whoever said the world's biggest MMO RuneScape should remove the wilderness and free trade? They threw a literal fortune down the drain just because they didn't understand their own product. 19. Let's invade Russia must somewhere up the list. Twice. 20. How about someone who made two terrible decisions? https://en.m. Wikipedia. Wiki Thomas Midgley Jr. He was instrumental in the creation of leaded gasoline and CFCs, Freon. He helped damage the environment on a massive scale. And for a bonus decision he made a pulley system for his bed that led to his own death by strangulation. If this guy isn't given a spot in the Bad Decisions Hall of Fame, then that seems like another failure. You forgot the best part. He inhaled leaded gasoline for a minute to prove that it was safe, then spent the next year recovering from lead poisoning. 21. Hitler, who wants to fight a two-front war? 22. The guy that sold the bottling rights for Coca-Cola. 4. and never even made the guy pay the https://www. Coca-Cola Company.com stories when Coke bottle. 23. Maybe the worst business decision ever made was by Xerox with their Alto computer. Xerox invented the graphical interface modern computers use. Desktop, folders, copy-paste etc. They basically invented the modern computer in the 70s. But the problem was, the people in charge at the time were businessmen without any technical knowledge, so they didn't realize what they had. They did nothing with it and gave it away to universities and showed other companies. The famous story is that Steve Jobs saw this and within 5 minutes realized this was the way computers would work in the future. He copied it, because Xerox didn't patent their invention and didn't do anything with it, and the rest is history. Xerox could have been Apple or Microsoft, or both. They could have had a monopoly on the entire PC industry. Almost every company uses Windows in their offices. I think 80 or 90% of consumers uses Windows. That could have been Xerox. They had the tech maybe 10 years before anyone else. They could have been the most valuable company of all time, but they just gave it away. 24.